So this video is not a review, more just like a quick run through of the Super Broly spoilers and my impressions of it. For a little historical context, the first Dragon Ball film I followed was Resurrection F pre-release. This is around the time when I was on a really big Dragon Ball high. I watched Kai, I watched Battle of Gods, and I was very impressed with both of them, and I had this kind of almost unshakable faith in the quality of the Dragon Ball franchise. And then I read the plot synopsis for Resurrection F before the film released, much like I am for this, and I thought it was a piece of shit, and that's exactly what the film turned out to be. And so my downward spiral concerning all things Dragon Ball started right then and there. To the credit of Dragon Ball Super Broly, there is almost nothing in this entire plot synopsis that really screams irredeemably terrible to me, but also this doesn't really feel like a story that warrants the kind of attention it's gotten. This is supposedly the film Akira Toriyama has been most involved with. He apparently put a really big amount of work into this film, unlike any other. They held big contests for like character designers for this movie so that they could get Shintani. This is supposed to be the film that's gonna bring in a new age of Dragon Ball visually, and the story that we get doesn't really feel like it warrants something like that. Like, you have a lot of people working on this with this big enthusiasm and firing on all cylinders, and the story they come up with is mostly a generic 90s Toei movie with a TV special or OVA awkwardly shoehorned in as the first act of the film. And that's my first kind of like big eyebrow raising moment about the film. It's the structure. So the first half hour is all the stuff about the Saiyans and Frieza and Paragus and Broly, and I'm shocked how little that seems to matter later on in the movie, because Paragus and Vegeta have only one conversation in the entire film as far as we know so far, and it apparently doesn't really help to convey like Paragus's grudge with Vegeta. And so it feels like that whole plot point, which seemed to be a really big deal, has fallen by the wayside. And this was something that I was kind of suspecting the closer we were getting to the release of the movie, because this movie already has quite a few things going on in it, and I wondered to myself, okay, with Frieza there and so much emphasis being put on the action and the spectacle, Paragus is probably gonna get lost in the shuffle, and that's kind of what happens to him, which is very unfortunate, because Paragus is easily one of the best characters Dragon Ball has ever made, and it feels just kind of like a waste to squander him here. There could be more conversations between him and Vegeta that we don't know about, but as far as I know, there's just the one and then nothing, and that one doesn't really try to convey what Paragus is about. So that is kind of unfortunate, and all the rest of the stuff about the Saiyans doesn't really feel important. We don't even like get to see the first meeting between Frieza, Cold, and the Saiyans. Like, well, we see Frieza meeting them for the first time, but by that point they were already working for King Cold, and I guess that's cool, but I don't really think I needed to see that. It's not something that's like so, oh my god, shocking that we needed it to be visualized in a big anime film. The stuff with like Frieza blowing up Planet Vegeta, we've seen Planet Vegeta get destroyed like 5 times already, so that doesn't feel warranted. Bardock's been seen dying a bunch of times also already, so that's not important. And so it really does feel like all of the stuff in the first half hour, besides to set up Paragus and Broly, is completely irrelevant to the rest of the movie. It really does feel like you could have cut out all the stuff about Minus and Bardock and King Vegeta and Frieza, and you just could have interspersed Paragus and Broly flashbacks to that era throughout the rest of the film, and nothing of substantive worth would have changed. Of course, maybe this flows better in the film. Maybe this is just a case of like the synopsis not doing the structure of the film justice, but like I said, these are my impressions based on the information we have, and what we have so far is not leaning towards something that feels warranted. And then the rest of the movie is basically a 90s Toei fest. It's bad guy shows up, we spend the whole rest of the fucking movie fighting them, which is gonna look amazing because it's Takahashi, it's Tate, it's Kenotsuka, I think. Kurosawa's in it. Like, all these great animators are part of the film, and it's gonna look visually amazing. And it looks like Sumitomo is also gonna be firing on all cylinders when it comes to the soundtrack as well. So all that stuff is good. All that stuff is really great, but the fight scenes itself don't really think they're gonna be impressive. For example, Vegeta fights Broly first. He goes base, then Super Saiyan, then Super Saiyan God. Then Broly does something like Super Saiyan 4-ish with the orange-eyed state, and then he beats the shit out of Vegeta. And at this point, I'm wondering to myself, okay, Goku's gonna see that, and then he's gonna use blue. That's not what happens. Instead, they do that fucking annoying modern Dragon Ball thing where Goku pointlessly fights in worthless, weaker forms for no adequately explained reason, just because. let me remind you, the context is this. Vegeta went Super Saiyan God, which has no explanation in the film. He gets smashed, and then Goku decides to fight the same guy who's stronger than Super Saiyan God Vegeta in base form and Super Saiyan 1 before using SSJ himself. That is fucking stupid. That is a really obnoxious modern Dragon Ball thing that I wish we stopped doing. Like, for fuck's sake, if we applied this stupid logic to prior material, we would have had base Goku versus Perfect Cell in the Cell games, because why not? Or we would have had Goku use base versus Fat Buu, because why not? Except with Fat Buu, it would have actually made a little bit of sense because Goku's like trying to stall for time. Here, Goku sees someone who's stronger than a Super Saiyan God, and then he wastes time with lower forms. So yeah, that's just a stupid modern Dragon Ball thing I cannot stand. There's some callbacks to the original Broly movie, which I don't care about. And then we get to something that's kind of like interesting in the film. Goku and Vegeta start overpowering Broly. They turn blue and they start overpowering him, and then Frieza decides to kill Paragus, but instead of Frieza becoming the target of Broly's rage, Broly is lied to and deceived into believing that he killed his own dad. So I think that's a cool twist. I think that works. I think that's a pretty cool way to up the stakes, and then he transforms into a proper Super Saiyan, and then he beats the shit out of Goku and Vegeta. This is the next part of the film that I'm not really crazy about, which is them practicing the fusion dance. Piccolo is the one who helps Vegeta do it, and that's really dumb to me because Goten and Trunks are in this movie. They're basically the experts on the fusion dance, and you're really not gonna use them for that. That just feels really stupid because they even made it a point to market Goten and Trunks as part of the film, and I wondered to myself, okay, maybe these two brats are gonna do something useful for once and they're gonna help Vegeta learn the dance. They don't do that. Instead, it's Piccolo and Goku because Piccolo is green and Paikuhan was green, and Paikuhan kinda helped them out with the fusion dance too, except he held Broly off, or except it was Janemba. So yay, movie 12 references. And then they reference movie 12 again by having VQ, the fat and skinny one, show up, which once again I don't care about because it's a gag that wasn't that funny the first time, and now it's just coming back and it's even less funny this time. And then Gogeta shows up, and then they make it a point to say stuff about his name, and the name for like Gogeta and Vegeta has always been fucking stupid to me. Goku never calls himself Kakarot in anything, and that's why Vegeta's name has always bugged the crap out of me, but whatever. Then Gogeta shows up in base form. He saves Frieza, who apparently gets demolished a lot. He spends like an hour fighting Broly and he gets demolished, which is really fucking impressive actually. And then Gogeta fights Broly. Broly goes legendary Super Saiyan, except in this version there is no connection between Broly and the original Super Saiyan, so he goes green haired. Gogeta goes blue. They fight. Gogeta actually manages to beat Broly, which surprises me because it's a fusion and it's written by Toriyama, and Toriyama never has fusions win except this time. So Gogeta pounds Broly like a bitch, and then he's about to kill him until Chilai and Limo save Broly by teleporting him back to planet Vampa, which is a cool twist. However, they say that Shenron only grants one wish. This was a problem in Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, and it's still a problem. Shenron can grant 3 fucking wishes, or 2 wishes if one of the wishes is reviving a big amount of people. He does not grant just 1 wish. Can someone please tell Toriyama this already? It's been 5 years, going on 6 since Battle of Gods, and we keep fucking this up. So Broly is sent back to planet Vampa. Chilai and Limo go there. Goku teleports to where Broly is, and then he introduces himself, and the whole big thing about the film is that Goku finally refers to himself as Kakarot, and from the synopsis I don't really understand why he does that, because like I said, no one in the movie learns any of the big stuff that happened in the past. Goku never learns what Bardock and Gine did for him. Vegeta never learns what King Vegeta did to Paragus and Broly. At least it doesn't feel like he does. And so there's really no reason for Goku to call himself Kakarot except to make the film feel more important than it is. And it doesn't even make sense because Goku and Vegeta are not characters who get any kind of arc in this movie. It's all about Broly and what happens to him. He's the antagonist, but also more or less the main character of the film. And I don't know why Goku is so changed by this big battle that he would refer to himself as Kakarot. Like, if Paragus, I don't know, talked about Bardock or something, and then Broly was like aware of that, like maybe that would have been a connection, but it just feels like this movie wanted to drop something as a big deal for the sake of itself, and then they said, okay, Goku's gonna call himself Kakarot, but that doesn't make any sense. Like, there's nothing in the synopsis that, from what I can see, gives any kind of impression that Goku learns to accept even more of his Saiyan heritage than he did beforehand. So that really does feel like something that the movie absolutely does not earn, and despite me being kind of negative on some of the points, the vast majority of this thing feels okay. It feels like a mediocre fanfic that someone would have written in like 2001 being made into a film. It feels like that. A lot of it feels just kind of fine and inoffensive, and some of it is totally stupid. And one of those stupid things, I almost forgot to talk about this, is Frieza's wish. I don't like Frieza's gag wish of wanting to be like 5 inches taller or something, because 1, that's a total rehash of the Red Ribbon Army arc, and 2, Frieza has never cared about his height. Ever. Never, ever, ever in any material whatsoever. And 3rd, Frieza can fucking design how he looks. This is a dude who designed 3 suppression forms, one of which looked like a big-headed midget, the second of which looked like an alien version of the Mountain, and the third of which was a fucking xenomorph. He also designed an upgraded form for himself, which looks like Super Saiyan. So Frieza can absolutely design something that makes him 5 inches taller without compromising his power or abilities. So yeah, originally there were some rumblings that Frieza gets the Dragon Balls and then he tells Shenron, make me taller than Zeno and the Grand Priest, and then Shenron makes him 5 inches taller. Like, if they did something like that, that would have been fucking hilarious. I would have loved that. But it's not. He's doing all of this so he can get 5 inches taller, and that doesn't make sense for his character. It doesn't make practical sense for his character, and it's just a rehash of an old gag, which is a definite problem with this film. A lot of it feels like it's just regurgitating gags that we've already seen, sometimes from a few years ago to a few decades ago in certain instances. But overall, besides the gags, besides the Shenron thing, and besides kind of like the pointlessness of the first third, the rest of this movie feels like it's just going to be there for the sake of being itself. Once again, I really don't get the impression that this is a film that warranted the amount of attention and work that was poured into it. This doesn't feel like Toriyama doing something genuinely groundbreaking and revolutionary to warrant this kind of attention. This isn't Toriyama making his equivalent to The Dark Knight, where he makes the ultimate Dragon Ball story and everyone else is just also firing on all cylinders. This feels like a middle-of-the-road script that is having everyone pour a lot of heart and a lot of hard work into it, but doesn't really feel like it justifies that concerning the content that is being presented. So yeah, those are my first impressions on Dragon Ball Super Broly. Maybe some of the stuff I'm complaining about here works better as part of the film itself. There's probably going to be like details and dialogue in the movie that's not part of this that might help explain or rationalize certain things about the film better. But overall, despite having a few big nitpicks about the film, it does feel like it's just going to be an inoffensive time for me personally and pretty much a bombastic blast for everybody else.